So, are you ready?
It is weird, but I'm gonna do it. I don't have like an usual day. I'm nervous now.
Have you ever considered something else?
Yeah, okay. Next question. Everything goes back, you know? It was like one job all my life. It was like this, no, just wanna stop everything and I'm happy what I do, yes or no. It is a small scale, very difficult to start a thing, it's very hard. I'm always worrying. Are you recording this? Turn it off because I'm gonna be cancelled.
And the first question is early influences.
In terms of early influences, I think that my childhood was very important because I was always surrounded by books, toys, and handmade decorations that we would have at home. And my parents were always very interested in craftsmanship. So they would also have like Portuguese objects like typical ceramics or paintings or how do you say artesanato crafts. Yeah. So I think that from an early age I was like drawn into that kind of piece, into that kind of work, and that I always admired. And since I don't know, I think I tried ceramics for the first time when I was around 11 or 12 years old at school, and I clearly remember that first experience of making like one object using clay, and that was, I still have it. It is at my parents. They are like two characters, a man and a woman. I have a really vivid memory of that moment. I think somehow later on I forgot about it, but when I started working with clay again, it came to me again. So I think it was a turning point, even though at the moment I didn't notice.
So it was the moment of the insight.
Yeah, I think so. I think in my childhood, I have some memories of working with my hands, with painting, coloring, using different materials, and I think with clay it happened the same. You know, it was a moment when a teacher brought a piece of clay to the class and it was like, whoa, what is this? This is amazing. I think I go back to that moment a lot when I do ceramics.
Have you ever considered something else?
Yeah. Well, again, also when I was a kid, everything goes back, you know. My grandparents had a shop. They would sell threads, needles, buttons, retrosaria. And my grandmother would always teach me how to embroider using like different stitches and stuff like that. And in terms of artesanato, I've always enjoyed arraiolos, tapestries, and I think that I would like to try that, you know, like bring illustrations into textiles using embroidery techniques. But, you know, that's another thing that I would have to learn to do. So I don't know if while I'm doing ceramics and managing all this, if I can like take the time to learn a new technique and bring my drawings to another medium. But I would like that, yeah.
Who knows what will be the next?
Sitting in the basement apartment I rented with you.
I was curious about your artistic evolution. How has your style or approach to art evolved over the years? Has it changed too much?
I think it changed a bit since the beginning, because in the beginning I was just trying to find, you know, my aesthetics or my voice or whatever we can call it, my style. It changed mostly in terms of colors, and now I use more bright colors than in the beginning, and I think that also the shapes are more synthetic, basic, or I don't know how to say.
Naive.
Yeah, maybe more naive, maybe. Also, when I started doing ceramics, I think that affected my illustration work too. So I wanted it all to work as a whole. So I think that slowly I started to use the same language that I use in ceramics into illustrations, and from illustrations to ceramics. So they blend together, and it's a good mix.
And have you thought about maybe changing directions or try something other style? Something?
Yeah, always. When I get the chance to draw a little bit, do some new work, even for myself, I always try new approaches, more line, less line, more abstract, less abstract. So, but it's more a personal thing and a personal development. Then I see what can work in terms of product after all, in terms of a final illustration or a final ceramics. Then I see what works better. And if it's only like a personal exercise that I won't show to anyone, or if it's something that I can follow as a continuation of what I'm doing now.
How do you work on your collections? Do you work on some sketches? You have some thoughts and then you do some quick sketches?
I do very quick sketches on the iPad. I mean, for the illustration. For the final artworks, I work on Photoshop or on the iPad. For the ceramics, I usually don't sketch a lot. I just build and then see if it works, because I like to sketch on the clay. I think I like to do that. But depending on the piece, it can work in the first try, or I have to try several times until I get the final object, I think.
I remember you were saying about your experience in Barcelona.
Yeah. When I was living in Barcelona, I was working as a graphic designer, mostly freelance, but I would also do some part-time jobs at specific companies. While I was there, I also managed a studio with a gallery space. It was a really nice experience because I got to meet a lot of people. Among the people I met during that time, there were a few illustrators. Then I understood that there was another path that I could take, because I understood that they were drawing for a living, not only making graphic design for companies. I wasn't very happy doing graphic design. I was mostly doing editorial design for magazines and some advertisement. But as I understood, I could go back to school and draw and just make drawings. It was mind-blowing. So I decided to enter an illustration course. At that time, I also met a lot of people that were already working as illustrators, but also led me to create a portfolio. And with that portfolio, with that course, I was able to start looking for work and starting to work as an illustrator, and slowly leave the more traditional graphic design work that I had. So I think Barcelona was a game changer, because being there and meeting so many people doing different things and being able to make a living by combining illustration with teaching or illustration with graphic design, as I think that I grew up with the idea that I would have one job all my life, and then it was like, no, you're gonna do a lot of things, and that was really, really nice. So I have to thank my friends for that.
But when you decided, when was the point
to come back to Portugal? Yeah, it was when I decided I really wanted to start as an illustrator 100%. Barcelona is not a very affordable city to live in, so the main reason was, of course, my family, because I was away already for 6 years and I felt this guilt that I was away. And I also wanted to really start doing my own thing in terms of illustration. So my younger sister was living in Porto, and I decided to come live with her. And Porto was much easy to support in terms of financially, in terms of rent costs and the cost of living. It was easier here, so I decided to come back. And also, it was like this feeling that illustration was starting to be a thing in Portugal. So there were very good publishers for children books, many people starting to work as illustrators full time. So I was inspired to come back and be part of that change, I think.
I think your work is represented not only in Portugal, right?
Yeah.
How that started?
I was living in Barcelona, so I already started working in the Spanish market, and also I started working with an illustrator agency in the UK. So that opened the doors to my work in other countries and to be seen in other places rather than Portugal. When I started selling online and making ceramics, and I always knew that I would have to think that I would have to sell to the European market. So my focus on the communication was also to Spain and to Germany and to France and to the UK. So I would have like a wide range of clients and countries that I could work for. I think that it all started with illustration work and then slowly grew to the online sales and ceramics.
I remember you already talked a bit about the opening of your offline shop.
So yeah, I can tell you like the story of the shop. I was sharing a studio in the city center with my sister and a friend, and I had the feeling that I wanted to grow, and the option of having a shop space was growing in size. So I thought, okay, let's give this a try. And the first possibility was to keep my studio space and have another space as shop, because at the moment I wasn't making so much ceramics. It was more illustration and paper goods. So I didn't need a lot of space. So I decided to start looking for a space, a small space, and then I couldn't find any that I could afford. Mm-hmm. And then one day I was going back home and I passed by this street and this shop was for rent. So I decided to, okay, let's see the space, and then as it has 2 floors, I could share the studio space downstairs and then keep the shop for myself and be the studio and shop upstairs. And that was the idea. Happened for a month. There was the pandemic, and the people that I was sharing the space, my sister and my friend, they left to work at home, and so the space was kind of free, you know. So there was I was still sharing the downstairs with another colleague, but then I started to take the space to make ceramics, and slowly grew. I really wanted to have like a space where I could meet the people that would come and buy my things, because I really like to have the online shop, but there was like not a connection between me and the people that were buying. And when I went to markets and could meet people that like what I do, it was like very, very fulfilling. So I thought, okay, so I think I would be happy to have this kind of connection with customers and have a showroom where people could come and see. So I think that was the main idea for the shop.
And was it hard to make enough production of everything just to fill in the shop?
In the start it was, because I didn't have access to a kiln, to a ceramic kiln, but things slowly started to change, and I understood that I could have my own kiln and create a production in a larger scale. It is a small scale still, but it's a little bit bigger. And it was also difficult to balance between having the door open to take customers and do the work. That's when I felt the need to grow the team. Not only I needed to be focused on production, but I would also need to stop focusing on other things. So that's when I understood I needed Daniela and David and Francisca now. So, yeah.
What can you say about the markets? Do you like to participate there?
Yeah, I really like to participate in markets. Now with the shop, I don't get the chance to participate in markets so much, but it's a really nice way to connect with the customers and also with other artists or other small brands. It's nice to see the reaction of someone that is passing by and just seeing the pieces. It's like, wow, this is nice. So I want to continue to participate in markets, but maybe not in Porto, maybe in other cities or in other countries.
I remember we were talking already about the workshops. You could say about that your opinion and your thoughts.
Mm-hmm. I think that workshops are a good way to share with people that don't know all the work that's behind making one piece and all the things that you have to learn and all the techniques. It's a good way to make people understand the value of a handmade piece. That's a good reason to teach workshops, not only to share the experience and meet people and create like a space where the participants can be creative and can learn something new, but also to value what we do here. So I did quite a few workshops, and we had like different kind of workshops. Like one we can make mugs, or on the other ones we can make vases or paint on a plate, or do small ceramic sculptures like little animals. And they were all very fun to organize and to be among people that usually don't do creative things. So I think it's a good experience for me also to see how other people work with the same materials and what's the result, what's the outcome from that experience. It's somehow very fulfilling and very a good source of inspiration, I think.
Mm-hmm. It is always scary to start something by your own. How was it emotionally?
Yeah, it is very difficult to start a thing on our own, I think, and it's an emotional roller coaster for me because I'm never like 100% satisfied or 100% sure of anything, and that's really tough. The thing is that I always try to push forward, even though I'm not sure. I just go and then see what happens. I'm inside my head a lot, so I think maybe too much, but I try to imagine all the possible scenarios, although that's not very good sometimes because I can imagine the good and the bad. But I always try to focus on the good scenarios and be positive about it and make decisions, like small decisions and small steps, always moving forward. And I'm not afraid to say, okay, this didn't work. I have to go back and try another way. That's fine. Yeah, I think that's it. But yes, it's very hard.
But what was the most challenging?
Managing people, I think. It's not managing people, but letting go of some things that I know that I'm not so good at and trust someone else to do it. And I'm very lucky with the team that I have right now. We are like a small family, I feel. And I know that I can trust everyone. But it's hard for me to let go some of the things and just not worry, because I'm always worrying. Yeah, that's it.
Saturday was spent in a parking lot. Gave it all we got. It was.
In terms of collaboration with brands, I would love to collaborate with brands that are colorful, that are fun, and that represent the same values as I do in my work. I would be interested in working with pattern design for kids' clothes, or maybe do some custom ceramic designs for independent brands. Especially in projects where I would have like creative freedom to express myself and do my thing, and yeah.
How do you relax outside your work?
Yeah, well, I try to, but I don't do that a lot because I don't find the schedule for it. But I love dancing and I love roller skating, but I'm not giving it enough time as I should. But it's well, you know, it's a phase, and then it will all come back.
What books would you advise for newcomers?
I'm not much of a reader. Yeah. There was this turning point. I think it was when I was opening the shop that I read the Find Your Creative Voice by Lisa Congdon. And it was really eye-opening for me because on that book, she suggested like to take a look inwards and find what are the things that define me as a person and that I bring to my work, that I put on the illustrations and that I put on the ceramics. I would definitely recommend that book for someone that is trying to find their way into illustration or ceramics or any artistic career.
Mm-hmm. What would you tell about your usual day in the studio? Do you listen to music? And maybe you have your favorite playlist during the day or something?
I don't have like an usual day because all days are different because I have very different tasks. But I would say that more regular things is that I come to the studio, I sit at a computer for a while, just do some admin work, and then I see what's going on with the ceramic productions and see where am I needed. So the production continues, so the orders come out. So first thing I check in, and then I start to do like actual work, painting or drawing or whatever I need to do at that moment. In terms of music, I have this thing that I really like being in silence while I'm working. But if I have to listen to music because I'm too much in my head, I would listen to, you know, some R&B and soul from the 80s. Was like that.
Okay, cool. About advice for emerging artists.
Yeah, I think it's the comparing with other artists, especially with social media. I think that can be very self-destructive to continue to focus on others instead of focusing on yourself and on your work, on your growth as an artist, as a creative. I think that it still is one of the mistakes that I most make, is like comparing myself to others. But I think that if I'm conscious about it, then I try to stop doing that. So I think that would be like my first advice to anyone in the creative industry.
Thought to quit everything, or how many times
Oh,
you thought about that?
yeah,
Oh.
I thought about that a few times. I thought about that during the pandemic, of course, and that I would have to quit the shop and quit the idea of having this bigger project. And sometimes when I'm like very anxious or stressed, I'm like, I just want to stop everything go work for someone else. But it lasts for a few seconds, then I forget about it and go back to doing what I'm used to do. I'm happy what I do. Just sometimes there's some self-doubt, also when I'm tired. But I think that's normal.
Yeah.
It's just the test. Do you want to continue? Yes or no?
Or the worst moment during your career? Do you remember that?
We're going deep. I think the worst moment was right before opening. And then the opening was cancelled. But right before opening, I felt like very, very secure about being so exposed and showing my work. And I was like very worried about the other people's opinion. Now I look at it and I think, why? It works, it's okay, you're happy. That's what I say to myself. But at that moment, I felt like very vulnerable, very exposed. I remember having here, we were putting on the shelves and I was like having a nervous breakdown with my boyfriend here. It was terrible. But then it all went away and it worked perfectly.
What are your future aspirations? What are the biggest ambitions about your business?
I'm very happy with what we have now. I think since last year to this year, there was some growth. I think that in terms of business, I would be happy with. It's not actually about the growth of the business, but the stability. Like knowing that this is what we have, this is good now, and getting to a point that I'm 100% happy with it, or not 100, maybe 90% happy with it, and I feel safe, and we all feel safe in terms of financially, and feel comfortable and relaxed. That's it. That's it. That's it. I always say that's it in the end of each sentence. I'm gonna start again.